welcome to Nutrition for Human Performance. So before we start, what I want you to do is I want you to write down what you want to know about nutrition for human performance. And what I mean by that is you grab yourself a sheet of paper and you think to yourself, what am I hoping to get out of this lecture? So do you want to be, strong in regards to your sport? Okay. Do you want to be aesthetic? And when I mean aesthetic, do you want to look good, when you're wearing clothes and when you are strutting around on the beach? Or do you want, a hybrid of the two? Do you want to be able to perform and look good? Okay. Does looking good actually matter to you? So try and think about what you're hoping to get out of this lecture today. I'm going to give you a few minutes to sort of pause. So pause this YouTube video, write it down, have a really good think. So our learning intentions for today. So our learning intentions are to understand the impact of positive, so good nutrition strategies and diet on your performance as a performance athlete. I also want you to understand the importance of and recognize the functions of each macronutrient. And when we talk about macronutrients, we're talking about proteins, fats, and carbohydrates. And ultimately, I want you to develop knowledge of diet mapping for your event to help you with your performance. And when we mean diet mapping is when you're going to have your breakfast, when you're going to have your competition snack, a post-competition snack, and how we're going to kind of balance our food and our nutrition. So in 1 year, if you eat 3 meals a day and 2 snacks per day, there are 1,825 times to get the best possible nutrition into your body. It might be the case that you might want to have a cheat snack or a cheat meal occasionally. That's not going to have a massive impact on your performance. As long as you remain relatively consistent and try and get your food sources from really good places. And when we talk about food sources, I'm going to go into further detail further along in this lecture. So the importance of consistency. And when we talk about consistency, we're talking about, having the right energy balance. So calories in equals calories out. So say, for example, you are a performance athlete and you eat 3,000 calories a day. You want to try and keep it as best you possibly can along this blue line here. And you can see there's an athlete here that has a rather consistent amount of food sort of throughout the day. So slightly below calories on one day, over calories on another day, but most of the time kind of along that sort of calorie balance. And that would be someone, probably like Mike Tyson at the moment now. He's got himself back in shape. He's not done that by cutting calories massively. He's not done that by binge eating. He's maintained his calories reasonably consistent. Okay, if we talk about another Tyson, Mr. Fury, you can see he's often not in great shape. And what happens is, in the boxing community, it's quite common that they have an off season, they eat really high calories, bad for you foods, and then they get in preparing for a fight. And they are under eating quite a substantial amount, and they have their fight and it rockets back up again. And that boom or bust eating strategy is not great for what we're talking about is body composition. So how much muscle, fat you have on your body. If you want to maintain a really good body comp, okay, so lots of muscle and relatively low fat, you really want to be trying to follow that dark blue line as best you possibly can. So the impact of a good nutrition strategy. So if you're having good nutrition, you train harder, you recover faster, you maintain your health, you avoid injury, and you gain success. And you might get medals. And medals could be more money and better employment. Poor nutrition strategies. You can't recover as well. You're more likely to get injured. There could be mental implications. You could feel sad or down because you're cutting. Your performance will decline. You'll get fatigue. You might get gut issues because your microbiome, so the gut bacteria that lives in your stomach, isn't working properly, and you could potentially have some level of illness. So let's think about energy availability. Okay, so we eat to give our bodies energy. Energy needs to be appropriate for your sport, and it needs to be in the right quantity and type. So appropriate energy sources allow you to perform optimally, recover well, adapt to training, and stay healthy. Okay, and we're looking at energy balance, so calories in, calories out. If we're having too many calories that we're not expending, it is going to get stored as body fat, and that could have a negative impact on our performance. So we're going to talk about BMR. So BMR is Basic Metabolic Rate, the amount of energy required to support basic bodily function based on complete rest. So when we're lying down and we're doing nothing, how much energy does our body take just to survive? So one of our tasks that I'm going to get you to do is I'm going to get you to work that out. So I want you to do the equation that's up on the board for you now. So you can do 15.3 times your body mass in kilograms. So for example, George, I think you are like 53 or 54 kilos. And I want you to add 679. So it's 15.3 times 54 plus 679. And once you've worked that out, that is your base metabolic rate. That is what your body requires for you just to stay alive. Doesn't take into account any exercise you do, doesn't take into account you walking around your house or your garden or going to the shops. It's just if you were to lie in bed and do nothing, that's how many calories your body would need to survive. So we've worked that out. Now we're going to see how much energy our body requires, if we're going to be doing our training as well. So to estimate the total energy expenditure, so TEE for a day, you take your BMR and you multiply it by a factor between 1.2 and 2, depending on how active you are in your training day. So for example, if, and we're going to pick on George. So George is on camp, he's on judo camp. So he's probably at Warsaw training with some Olympic level athletes, and he might have 2 or 3 training sessions a day. So if you're an extra active person, so you train very hard in sports or you have a physical job, we're going to multiply the basic metabolic rate by 2.2. So you work out George's BMR and then you multiply it by 2.2, and that is going to give you the total energy expenditure you would need for a week of camp training if you're part of British Judo. So I want you to now write down your total energy expenditure in a normal training week, in a rest week or a deload week, and when you're at some sort of camp, when you're at some high level performance camp, using the equations that are highlighted just here. When that's done, you can restart the YouTube clip.